Howdy folks, today we're looking at Batman #1 from 1940 in DC Comics in Facsimile. And so, roughly a year on the heels of Batman's first appearance, we arrive at something resembling his mature form. Not quite so dark, slightly less rough and tumble, abetted by a colorful kid sidekick, and finally, opposed by colorful foes on a register to match his own flamboyant presentation. Although the character was already a smashing success, enough so to warrant successive waves of bowdlerizing, there was still an element missing. That element arrives in the form of a familiar calling card. Yes, the sinister Joker himself begins his 85-year reign of terror in these very pages. It shouldn't really surprise us that the supervillain is a phenomenon first bedeviled the Caped Crusader. Superman, as conceived by Siegel and Schuster, wasn't really built to fight fantasy enemies. He was explicitly framed as a populist crusader, not a crime fighter per se, and although the villains would arrive in time, it would take many decades for what we consider his core rogues gallery to coalesce. Already in the year before Robin, however, Batman had proven he worked best fighting progressively more macabre and outlandish menaces. Hugo Strange was his first real arch-villain, appearing in multiple stories, and one printed here, drawn before the advent of Robin, and printed alongside these first two Joker stories. It's immediately obvious that the solo Batman represents a different era of the character. Hugo Strange's monster men are hideous and violent killers, and Batman reacts in kind, not merely as shooting a machine gun off the Batplane, but hanging one of the monsters by the neck, surely one of the most gruesome spectacles ever seen in a Batman story. Of course, Hugo Strange would soon be parceled out for retirement. Although he was Batman's first supervillain, he was just too gnarly for the new era. One more appearance before the end of the year would mark Strange's last appearance in the comics before going quiet for 37 years, finally returning during Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers' groundbreaking late 70s run on Detective Comics. The Joker, by contrast, was certainly no less violent than Strange, but it cannot be denied he cut a much more distinguished figure, not merely a grumpy-looking mad scientist with an oddly shaped head. The Joker was arguably more interesting than his arch-nemesis. That, more than just about anything, proved the secret sauce that propelled Batman to eternal popularity. On his own, he's interesting to look at, but kind of a drip. If Batman took over a year to reach premise equilibrium, the Joker is pretty much ready to go out of the gate. He's already got the look and the playing card fixation. His theme isn't actually comedy, it's gambling, an emphasis later reversed. He's already got superhuman acumen in the realm of chemistry, concocting elaborate extortion schemes using Rube Goldberg devices to commit outlandish murders, and from the very beginning he's leaving other people with that horrendous Joker smile. Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson are all credited here, and you can judge for yourself just how much of the finished product looks like Kane's work. And oh yeah, lest we forget, there's another first appearance here as well, a beautiful lady jewel thief who goes by the Cat, not yet wearing a costume, but already beguiling Batman with her feminine wiles.